What's up, guys and gals? Welcome to Reviews by the Slice. Chris Pinson here alongside my good friend Tony Nguyen. And today we're going to talk about what we just got done watching, which would be the 35th anniversary re-release in theaters of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Of course, Tony and I, we're about the same age bracket. We are the millennial generation. Maybe you're on the fringe of the Z's, I don't know. The X's, I guess. But either way, TMNT, it was a staple in the 1980s and 1990s. It was something that every kid our age was obsessed with among the many cartoons that dominated that time period. And today we just got back from watching, as I said, the re-release of the 35th anniversary of the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. So Tony, I gotta say, this definitely was a blast from the past. I mean, seeing all the different brands for TVs, for VCRs, the way cars looked, even in the opening credits, right? When you were first watching in to see what the Big Apple, what New York City, the bustling street life looked like, there was what famous structure is still standing?
Ooh, yeah, you're absolutely right.
The Twin Towers.
I didn't even keep my eye on that. I was looking at like the fashion and the hair and things like that. Yeah,
yes, that we are pretty sure that between the 80s and 90s, that's probably what caused global warming, that giant hole in the sky, all that hairspray for sure. But yeah, the Twin Towers, of course, were in the opening credits. So again, this was 35 years ago. We're talking 1990s. That's how long ago the original TMNT movie debuted in theaters. So, Tony, after being able to watch this now as an adult for the upteenth time, but in today, right, where we're sitting in truly 21st century, 2025 America, to go back 35 years and, as you said, kind of look at the architecture, the fashion, the people, the way things were, really what kind of jogs your mind or maybe what really stood out to you the most?
To tell you the truth, every time I've seen it, and that's including just a few hours ago, I just have a smile. Just watching the whole thing and, you know, reciting the quotes as they're happening. And I just love this movie. I was a huge Turtles fan. I had just all the toys, all the merchandise. I was a part of Turtle Mania. I think I still have the bed sheets, if you know what I'm talking about.
I got a pillowcase. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Like I still have that. I'm pretty sure in my parents' place. And yes, like just watching the film again, looking at it through, myself being a filmmaker and just watching and how like the story gets put together and everything like that, it's still so solid.
Yeah.
It is still just a perfect introduction to who the Turtles are. I mean, it's an introduction to everyone, right? And they just do such a great job of, like, with very little time, just, being able to not only explain who and what they are, but also the connection with everyone. Like, the chemistry with every single person that's a part of that. Like, I never felt like anyone was like phoning it in. Like,
right.
There's just so much fun. There's so much heart. Like there's really sad moments too. And again, like being older and listening to Master Splinter and his
sage wisdom.
Yeah, the wisdom, like the words just cut that further in where like I could feel myself getting a little teary-eyed in some of the moments of just like family and a father-son relationship and just the struggles of being the outsider, the outcasts, the weirdos, the freaks, and just finding a place, amongst the people that, you surround yourself with.
Okay, so I will say, because I did see this meme on Instagram recently, because of course there was build to this. People knew this movie was going to be re-released. I definitely would have joined the Foot Clan, no question, simply for being able to hang out in the headquarters, the evil lair. I mean, pool table, all the video games. You had Mountain Dew, pizza. You could do whatever you wanted, and they said, whatever you want to do it. Heck yeah, skipping school, I'm down for that. No, stay in school, kids. But truthfully, right? To look at that layer, that headquarters, I was like, if I was a kid who was looking for a home or some place to call a home, and I was on the outside looking in like that, I definitely would have gone there too. Can't lie.
I mean, there's definitely a huge appeal to hanging out with the Foot Clan, aside from if you do anything that strays away from that, you will get beat up by a grunting Japanese man. But yes, like you could tell how well they manipulated the children, and everything. I also find it a little odd that it's just like an army of children.
Yes, young tweens, basically.
So like, how much damage could they do? They did quite a bit. I mean, an entire, citywide crime spree.
Yeah.
I mean, they were
literally
doing
robbing
work.
people blind.
Yeah. So yes, there's definitely some appeal, and yeah, I probably would have ended up in the Foot Clan, but maybe just like Danny in the show, or in the movie, realizing the errors of my way, and that maybe this isn't the best thing for my young teenage mind.
Okay, now let me ask you this, because maybe I was mistaken. In the movie, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, Master Splinter, right? He's a rat, and he's always been a rat.
Oh, you dirty rat!
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
So he's always been a rat. However, am I mistaken in thinking the cartoon changed that? Because I thought the cartoon version of TMNT was Master Splinter was Master Yoshi, who got turned into a rat by the ooze.
Yeah. So there's missing the human element of it.
Okay.
Yes. And the TV show came out first, I believe, and yeah, he was a man that happened to be that was living in the sewers, and when the ooze was there, being in contact with the turtles and with the rat, he himself turned into half man, half rat hybrid, and the turtles became more or less half man, half turtle hybrids. So yeah, they took that out and just became that Splinter was already a super intelligent rat that just grew in size and became smarter, and the similar things for the
only
turtles.
rat to escape from the secret of Nim and somehow make it across the ocean to Japan. Okay, gotcha. I roll with that.
I mean, that rat knew ninjutsu, so like if any rat is going to, it's gonna be Splinter.
Okay, so again, let's put on our brains, right? Let's try to time more back into 1990, right? We're obviously, by 1990, you had seen a number of kung fu or fighting movies, right? Whether it was through Bruce Lee or a number of different fighting style movies. Mm-hmm. What did you think about the choreography of the fight scenes? Because looking at it now, right, in 2025, when we've been able to watch movies like The Matrix, right, or anything with Marvel or anything with DC, where you have these much more complex fighting scenes, what did you think of the way the fighting was portrayed then?
I mean, I think it still holds up. I honestly, I mean, it's very, very choreographed, and it's also tongue in cheek, as like the music is playful at times.
Oh yes,
but whenever it wants to be serious, it will be serious. I think that just knowing that it's actual martial artists under all of that like rubber and like animatronics and stuff, and being able to move in that is amazing. And it's definitely not something that they would do again. Like here, they would, I'm sure, try to do some CGI, and we can talk about how the look and how, if they were to ever actually redo it, how I would do it. But there's also some things that still kind of like a little bit jarring, such as the big thing for me was always Leonardo and his swords.
Yes.
Like he's got swords, he doesn't use them.
Yeah, he's not slicing and dicing these foot soldiers. Again,
right.
Obviously you understand why he doesn't, because it's an army of kids or teenagers, so he can't do that.
Right.
But in reality, it's like, right, again, Donnie's got the bow, Mikey's got the nunchucks, Raphael's got the
sai.
For some reason, I thought it was katanas, but katanas were swords.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you got Leonardo, who has swords, uses them, but doesn't use them the way you should.
Right.
That was always the same, the kind of bugaboo to me.
Yeah, and I mean, it is what it is. It's still supposed to be a children's show and or movie, and it was definitely like pushing the boundaries. I remember like hearing "damn," the word "damn."
So, when Raphael screams it throughout the city.
Yeah, like it's one of the first movies I recall hearing a quote cuss word.
Yeah,
and feeling like, oh no, like.
Same. I'm like, Mom, he just said a bad word. And she's like, don't worry about it, son. Don't repeat that.
It's a giant turtle. They can do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there's little stuff like that, but at the same time, I mean, just because it is animatronic rubber, it's physically there. It just, like it's there. You could really feel it, opposed to the later live action ones, or even Turtles 3, where like, they it's not the same production.
Right.
And they just made it so realistic, that there's still small little moments where you can kind of see the detachment of the headpiece to the neck. I did find myself just watching necks,
Yes.
during it all. And then of course, if you've seen the classic screenshot of whenever Donatello laughs when Raphael it recovers, you can see the actors like mouth laughing inside the mouth. Yeah, very, very like nightmare fuel. But and I saw it again. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, exactly.
But that being said, like I think that the way that they were able to make the concept of four turtles, a rat, and a samurai with some heavy hardware, like still be believable, and in a world where it's a little tongue in cheek and everything, like it still fits, it still works for me. There's still some moments of animatronic issues, but like I mean that's what you can expect, and I think it's so ahead of its time, which I believe it was. And it just goes to show of the Jim Henson Workshop and everything that they've contributed to movies, but especially in particular to this one.
I was going to say, right, so the cool thing is, if you go see this movie re-released right now for a very short time in theaters, before the movie plays, you do get to see a couple behind-the-scenes things. And one of those was how the director talks about how, in unison, they got Jim Henson and, of course, the famous puppet master, if you will, himself, the Muppet Master, really to come in, right? And for the first time ever, they were able to bring these things truly to life. And so you've got a director who understood the storyline very well, and you had Jim Henson, which we know, of course, his mastermind has brought about a whole new world and a way of life for, again, kids and now adults like me. So for them to be able to bring that to the big screen, I mean, the movie was what, about 90 minutes long?
Yeah,
give or
not very
take,
long.
right? It was in 90 minutes. And by the way, they said this movie was shot in just 7 weeks. I mean, you think about that. That's just over 2 months. And to shoot a major motion picture like that, especially in New York City, and back then, of course, you didn't have a lot of CGI. So you had all these different talented people, right, that were artists, that were carpenters, that were building all these sets. And they described some of the scenes, like in the early going, when you first get that long shot into the sewer and you're kind of being taken on this unknown little tour of what it was like below the streets of the Big Apple.
Yeah.
All these things for them to put that together. It's so cool to learn how before CGI, there were so many moving parts, but like a well-tuned Switch watch, everything worked in harmony.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it was cool seeing the extra little bits and pieces. I wish there was more. I was under the impression that there was like a lot more, and instead, and this is the drawback to watching it, it seemed more like a commercial for what they're wanting to release, which
Yes.
will have all this stuff. And that was sort of like, well, I thought that's why we were watching this in the first place. But I guess they didn't finish in time. Whatever the case may be, like you do get a hint of some scenes and how like the introductions of characters too, which was kind of neat, that we didn't get to see before. And then there was, I think the longest one we saw was with Danny and April trying to
Yes.
pitch a movie to like a movie exec, and the turtles are there on top of a skyscraper, like just making faces and listening in on the pitch to the movie exec or whatever it is. And it was a neat little moment, just to be able to see more footage after 35 years.
What did you think about revisiting Casey Jones's character? What did you think about him, the way that they had him portrayed? Because I like the fact that, again, looking back and closing my eyes, I
Yeah.
remember playing with the Casey Jones action figure, right? And as Michelangelo says, oh, is that Wayne Gretzky on steroids? Right? It made perfect sense because, again, Wayne Gretzky is arguably the greatest hockey player ever.
Yeah.
And so what do you think about Casey Jones and the character they cast there?
I think it's Elias Koteas. I mean he, to me, he is
was
Casey
Casey Jones,
Jones,
right? Yeah.
I mean that mask is so cool looking too.
Yes.
And I think he portrayed it great. I mean, I also love the fling that he had with April.
Yes.
They're back and forth and everything, because like I think it's funny that all the turtles had, you know, like crushes on April, but like that wasn't going to be a thing.
Thankfully.
So yeah, I mean, in the stories, it's always been Casey and April. So I think that both of them did fantastic. I really liked April's portrayal. I wish she continued, Judith Wog, to come to the sequels and everything like that. Unfortunately, she didn't. But I thought she was extremely charming. You know, just every little ad lib that she would put out there, or if it was written, but like the little, like, why don't I ever dream of Harrison Ford?
Yes,
like
that
it's
was
such
funny.
a great line. Like, it's like those little things that just remind you that we're taking it serious, but the content itself is not as serious.
Exactly.
And yeah, I mean, do you concur with that Casey Jones, or do you prefer the other live action with Stephen Amell from the newer Turtles?
Again, right, for the time period it was in, right, based upon the look, for sure, though, again, the language as well being used during that, right. Bodacious was used out there, of course, right? We know Cowabunga because, right, that was their slogan. But when you think back to the 80s and 90s, right, the words bodacious and, as Casey said, babe and toots, like, those really were, again, for a lack of respect, per se, right?
Yeah.
Those were terms that people used either in a good way or in a sarcastic way.
Yeah.
And so I thought they cast a perfect guy because he did have the perfect rough around the edges look. Right, he was this former pro hockey player that got injured, but then he ends up not taking a day job. He ends up becoming this rogue. I would say that Casey Jones was like the Ninja Turtles version of the Punisher. That's the best way I could give him an analogy.
I mean, that mask is
right?
straight up like Punisher. Like,
yeah,
that's a cooler hockey mask than Jason Voorhees, in my opinion.
Nice, good call there. Right? I like that.
It's I mean, yeah, the way that they just absolutely nailed Casey Jones in there. I love the dynamic between him and Raphael too.
Yes.
And that's the thing about this. Like, in 90 minutes, they were able to just portray each turtle with their own personality.
Oh yeah.
They each had their own like little story. Like I'd say Donatello probably has the least, but he gets it later in Turtles too.
I was just gonna say that there's only one turtle character that really didn't seem to kind of match the energy of what we were used to from the cartoon. It would be Donatello.
Yeah. But I mean, just spending the time with April and Splinter and all of them, really just so solid. And gosh, like, I cannot think of a better intro to a character than the first time you see the Shredder.
Yeah.
Like the lead up of the shadows, that music, like that is the notes for that. Like, I've taken it and written a song like from it.
Really?
It's just like it's ingrained in my soul of like, yes, like, this is metal, so like, here's a guy in metal, so yeah, the Shredder theme is amazing when you see him, the way he looks, and like the way that the actor, like, you only get this, right?
That's it. You just
and
get
he's
this.
just able to portray so much in there, especially at the ending fight, where he's just taunting the turtles and everything like that. Like, it's still such a good movie.
Okay, so let's address that, right? I'm glad you brought up Shredder, right? Because yes, when we bring Shredder into this movie, right, you've heard about him, you understand that obviously, hey, right, he's the ultimate bad guy for the Turtles. He's the arch villain.
Yeah.
Right. I love the long shadow walk from the hard silhouette. That's great. Him as the character is great. I did like the fact, right, that we did go back and we revisited the fight scene originally of why he was on this vengeance tour.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, right, I think that they did a great job of making him as villainous and as lethal and notorious as Darth Vader was for Star Wars, right? Because both guys, hulking creatures, giant masks, mysterious, evil, vengeful, right? It's a great fit. But then I will say the one caveat I got would be the way that he so quickly is taken out of the movie at the end, right? Obviously, right? I mean, if you watch it, he's clearly beating the crap out of the turtles without much effort.
Yeah.
He's tripping them here, throwing them down, right? So you're like, okay. But then, again, and I know Splinter was just a puppet, so you couldn't have him go full battle.
Yeah.
But instead of having him throw the spear at Splinter, right, he tries to charge him like a bull, and Splinter does the old Olay move, and next thing you know, boom, he's in the dumpster can, and c'est la vie. So that would be my only caveat, is I wish they could have found a way to give us a little bit more. It's just like in, what was it the second or third prequel movie for Star Wars, where we finally got to have Emperor Palpatine fight against Yoda. And that was CGI. That was a scene that every Star Wars fan had wanted to see based upon what we knew about the original movies.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's going to be the limitations.
Yeah.
And I mean, considering they did so much with the Turtles, you would have thought that they'd be able to do something with the Splinter costume, but from what I understand, like there was issues all throughout the production with Splinter himself. That being said,
what a diva.
I think that it kind of goes back to whenever he first has that one-on-one conversation with Raph after he comes back after the movie and getting beat up by Casey Jones about anger and how, like, you know, anger consumes you and
clouds your judgment.
And clouds your judgment.
Very Yoda-esque.
Yeah, and I mean that's exactly what happens. I mean, Shredder is calm the entire time, like, but when he realizes, you know, it's the rat that scarred his face and why he looks the way he does, he immediately, you know, does the war cry and just, you know, it clouds his judgment and does the worst. Yeah, absolutely.
Element of surprise.
I don't see the biggest surprise, and which I forget every single time, but it's old Casey Jones just accidentally whoops hitting and, you know, potentially you know, with the intention of killing the Shredder, which is surprising, but you know, it is what it is. So yeah, no, I totally get that. That's something that's jarring, and again, it's unfortunately the part of the time and the limitations that they had. And yeah, it was very quick at the end. I personally don't know if I would want like a full
full reshoot or something.
Yeah,
or
like a
maybe
full battle like in it. It just makes Splinter that much cooler.
Right, that he's just like, oh, you're Shredder? Cool, and Olay, and
yeah, like the whole deal was that, you know, no individual of the Turtles would be able to beat Shredder, but if they worked together, they could have, and that's the whole point. Whereas Splinter, you know, he's fully capable. However, he's limited by his age. And, you know, I assume that being in rat form, he's, you know, not as good. And especially in this in particular version where he was a rat that grew up and became, you know, instead of a master first and then turning into a rat, like, I don't think he's got quite the same chops as
that's fair.
The cartoon version. So, you know, maybe that's the case. Of course, I'm just throwing out ideas of like how to justify why that's a perfectly fine ending for what happens.
Okay, I will say another caveat here, right? I was like, obviously, it was a great fight scene that they had with the Turtles, right? Because one by one, he was just knocking them left and right.
Yeah.
Was it Raphael or was it Leonardo that did get the one blood-inducing blow on his right arm?
That was Leo.
Right, with the sword, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess again, maybe they wouldn't do it because again, it'd require more stuff. But I would have liked to see maybe a little turtle bloodshed, right? Like right, he was just flipping them here or you know, leg sweeping them there.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's got the giant claw there. As he said, hey, this guy's got no problem with a can opener, or what they said.
Yeah.
So maybe a little bit more than just tripping and flipping. But overall, I thought the fight scene was good because it showed how dominant Shredder was, and even as a team, they were no match for him because, as he said, you know, you were good in the old ways, but I got the new school stuff.
Yeah, for sure. He, I mean, to me, he was definitely toying with them. There was no real effort. And then whenever he decided he was going to, you know, because he was the one who got the spear and got into the face of Leo and had him down there and had all the turtles throw away their weapons. Like, that was going to be the end right there. I mean, he was about to, you know, stab him until Splinter showed up, you know. But Yeah, I mean, would I like more? Absolutely. I'd love to have more.
Selfishly, right?
Yeah. At the same time, like, I don't know, it could ruin it. I mean, we go into, the later films that were created later, with more CGI, and we get something that looks like this.
Oh my God! Make it stop! Oh, what is that thing?
The monstrosity that is the design for these turtles.
God, awful.
Though you got to see a lot more action and moves and stuff like that, and that Shredder was pretty pretty formidable
Yes.
as well, and everything like that. It kind of took away because they limited it so much. It was just hints of what's to come, and then we got the big fight at the end and everything like that. Yeah, I wish that if they were to do another live action Turtles, that they would do a well, not this.
Not this one.
Not this one, but just
we have
rather
two different colored turtles here.
yeah, right. Well, I do see that's what I like. I think with the second one, they kind of changed them up just ever so slightly. Like they all have different faces and
Right.
things like that, and eventually some of them will have spots and different shades and stuff like that. And yeah, it's absolutely needed. But like, I think they should go if they decide to do a live action one again, to go to the route the same way the Mandalorian has done with Grogu or / Baby Yoda,
Yeah.
where it is a puppet first, and then they animate their animations in that puppet style. Like
okay.
it's already pleasing to our eyes. We accept it, and all we have to do is make it move like there isn't a person in there.
Okay.
And that's my perfect like version of how they should look. They should not look like this.
Oh my God! That's so scary.
They should look more like that. Like
Yeah.
I mean, literally this. Except just be able to emote more and like. I mean, they did so much like with that, but like even if it's Splinter, to have him be able to do his fight scenes, and
Yep.
even in the second one, I think he contributed by like shooting a bow and arrow and whatnot. Like. That's how I would picture a proper live action Turtles if they were ever to do it again.
Okay, so let me ask you this, right? So that looks kind of weird too. Okay, so let me ask you this. So we had 1, 2 was the real 2 was about the ooze, right? That was
Yep.
where we had that's where we actually had all the kind of storyline come together for that. So the live actions were what, 4 or 5 total? Because I remember I used to have the number 4, which is when they got time sent back to Japan.
Yeah, that's Turtles 3.
That's Turtles 3, okay. All right, so of the 3 or 4 live actions they made, which one is your favorite?
1.
It's okay, so 1. Okay, so even though number 2 was like, hey, here's new characters, here's the real secret of the use, right? We're actually going to pull the full curtain back. Number 1 is your favorite, huh?
Number 1 has everything that I'd want in a movie.
Okay.
It's just more complete. It just has a lot more heart. It's a lot more stylistic too. The work of the shadows and the introductions of everyone. 2 is you could tell that it's a lot tamer in terms of the violence.
Okay.
Where 1 has a lot of the moments where here's some silly music, one-liners as they're fighting.
Yes.
And then it will do, a little bit more serious moments where things are starting to, get a little dicey and hairy. That doesn't happen in the second one. And the second one is purely just fun. I think a large part of the whole Turtle Mania and everything was that parents were just like, okay, we can't have, these turtles yelling out damn and, and having these weapons and stuff. So like even Michelangelo in the second one, has a moment where he's using, cold cut sausages.
I forgot about this.
Right? As nunchucks instead of his actual thing.
Yeah.
They do a lot more of just physical hand-to-hand stuff instead of weapons. And, it lessens it. That being said, like, I think I quote more Turtles stuff from the second
From the
one,
second one, yeah.
than the first one. I think first one's a better movie, but second one is just so fun that like it kind of captures a little bit more of the cartoon. And just the general fun of what the Turtles can be.
Okay.
Whereas 3, I hated their look. The story was
so it was out of left field, wasn't it?
it was just out of nowhere, and like the way I think that one was the first one that did not have Jim Henson associated with it, or like very very limited. So you could tell that like the amount of time of like all the Turtles kind of looked the same, and like the production value just lessened quite a bit, and they started putting in computer animation in it, and it was just not up to par at that point. So it really, really extremely jarring. And then the newer Turtles.
I feel like the newer Turtle movies, whether it's by cartoon or whether it's by CGI, I feel like, again, I haven't watched a lot of them because I was older by the time these all kind of came out, or I wasn't around my cousins when they were watching them because they're old enough to do that. But I don't know. Again, right? Maybe it's the older person to me that that finds the nostalgia of these and go, well, I grew up on these, so these are better. But it's something about these newer age ones they've tried to again toy with graphics wise, cartoon versus 3D, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I just haven't felt the same kind of connection either by age or just by maybe willful ignorance, if you will.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, the live action ones. Newer live action ones. I mean, again, the design wasn't really that great. The second one I thought was a vast improvement to the first one, as the second one felt like they were really leaning on the old cartoons because they were bringing in even all of Donatello's gadgets and things like that, and they brought in Bebop and Rocksteady. Finally, it felt like it was going in the right direction. But unfortunately, it just didn't work out for them, and it is what it is. And then whenever later we got a lot of like the concert, and
as we're watching before, I go, "What is this?" You go, "Oh, it's the concert." I said there was a Ninja Turtles concert.
Yeah,
I'd never heard of that.
Yeah, there was a concert. There was also a short run TV show where the Turtles. There was a fifth member, a female turtle that was there, and it was a little awkward making a female turtle.
I'm sure,
in it. But I guess a cool moment was that the Turtles would also team up with the Power Rangers and do a thing, I believe. So yeah, like that's kind of radical, right?
Tubular, dude.
Bossa Nova. Chevy Nova?
Excellent.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So yeah, to me, yeah, I think Turtles 1 is the best movie, 2 is the most quotable. And then the other ones I barely acknowledge.
Fair.
The animations, animated ones are really, really solid.
Okay.
The 2007 Turtles, TMNT 2007, I really enjoyed that one. And then the newest one that they just did with Seth Rogen's company, though they changed up quite a bit. Like I felt like, yeah, this is a really good direction for introducing the Turtles to a new audience, a younger generation. What are your thoughts? Which is your favorite Turtle?
I mean, definitely got to be the originals. I think you're right. I think probably 1 is the best put together movie, but 2, obviously, right? You get Bebop Rocksteady, you get Super Shredder, right? Again, the secret of the ooze, right? Really was a cool concept for them to kind of delve more into, and I think you're right.
Yeah.
We do quote a lot more from 2 than from 1, but yeah, again, right? One was a great introduction. It got you up to speed very quickly. Mm-hmm. It established who the characters were, and then from there, yeah, that on-stream chemistry, that was the key. Like, for April to go from "Am I dreaming?" to making the audience believe, right, that she'd accepted them for what it is, because obviously they were like trying to find out the Foot Clan stuff. And again, I don't know if I totally buy the whole April's boss's son is this rogue kid.
Yeah.
That was kind of a goofy thing, but it makes sense, right? Because obviously even kids from really good homes of good structure still go rogue, and you've got those eventually. So I was fine with him being that kid, but again, it was interesting. Now I will say, maybe the one part that I didn't buy wholeheartedly was them all sitting around the campfire and then doing the whole like Luke Skywalker using the Force to draw and find the spiritual energy of Splinter.
Yeah.
But being that this movie is about the secrets of ninja, right, and using brain over brawn and having the mind harness the body more than the body harness the mind. Those things were like, all right, look, right, if this is the one CGI part, I can live with that. It was fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think that moment is just supposed to show that the turtles have figured out how to, find that peace of mind.
Yeah, especially Raphael.
Yeah, where, and to know that technically, though Splinter wasn't there to, if he were to pass, that he has already said everything he has had to said.
Right.
He has taught them everything that he needs to teach. It's all within them now. And now it's a matter of them working together, being a family for each other, and knowing, that never to forget where you come from, not to forget your brothers and not to forget Splinter. So yeah, I absolutely love that moment. And I also always was fascinated how they changed the fire from orange to blue like that.
Yeah, that was
it's
pretty
just
cool.
so
I will say that was pretty cool in CGI. Like again, early CGI. If you watched it now as somebody in today's time who didn't grow up with it, right?
Yeah.
It looks so crude. It looks so boring. So again, that's why most people today would probably watch it who didn't grow up then and be like, really? Like, this is it? Like, this is the amazing stuff you loved? And we're like, dude, it was so cutting edge. You have no idea.
I wonder if that was actually practical and they figured out a way of like changing, because like you can add different chemicals to make
That's true.
fire change, and they just like upped it. I don't know. Like that has always puzzled me. And then in the first Ghostbusters, where the eggs are cooking on the counter,
Yes.
like that still blows my mind.
Yes.
But actually, I wanted to ask you, because we're both journalists, like how do you feel about the way they portrayed the news, especially with a news director coming directly to your house? Every morning, just to let you know of what you should and shouldn't be doing. How do you feel about that?
That was definitely a 100% HR violation. Definitely would never fly today. I can assure you of that. Now again, right? There's obviously exceptions where people try to make sure you're okay, but in the way it was portrayed, it was definitely kind of weird.
Yeah.
I will say, right, grading April O'Neil's journalism tactics. And I was going to tell you this earlier, too. I thought that April O'Neil very much did a great job, much like I thought Lois Lane did in the newest Superman movie. I thought she was a dogged reporter. I thought they had her be that very staunch, that consistent, that pursuant journalist, right? In the face of these high crime and our police have no answers, but they're giving us answers. I thought she did a great job. Again, her anchoring, not the best. Very, very, very read the script-esque. But as far as being the journalist on the scene, pushing the needed to know questions, making those accountable, being held accountable, I thought she did a great job.
Yeah, I agree. To wrap this up, I do want to ask you an age-old question.
Oh, okay.
And the question,
I do not know if it's chicken or the egg. I've pondered that my entire life.
It's even older than that.
No comment.
It's even older than that. And I believe they actually answered like which one came first, like scientifically. But we'll get to that later.
We digress.
That's something else. I want to know, who is your turtle?
I knew you were going to ask this. I was going to ask you this question as well.
Okay.
Okay, so I have an answer, but it's a two-parter.
Sure.
Okay, so when it came to video games, I always thought that the best Ninja Turtle to use was Donatello, right? Because obviously, right, even though you have two swords with Leonardo, Donatello's bow obviously is the longest extending weapon, so that would keep your enemies at bay.
Yeah.
Especially if you played the Konami Turtles. What was the Turtle Street Fighter game?
Well, what was that one called?
We talked about this one.
Yeah, it's more of the fighting game, not the arcade.
Correct.
Not like Turtles in Time.
This is like a Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat style game.
Yeah,
I owned it as a kid, so I should remember it. But he was the best character to use in that game as a turtle. As far as my favorite turtle goes, though, got to be Leonardo. I mean, again, just because like I'd pick Michelangelo because obviously, right, he was the funniest, he was the partiest kind of guy. He was all about
He's a
pizza.
party dude.
Right, he was the party dude. And as a kid, you're like, yeah, that's us, we're kids. But I always admired the fact that, again, Leonardo was somebody who knew that even though Splinter was the head leader, Leonardo knew that there had to be somebody among the four of them to lead them right into the future.
Yeah.
And that the reason, right, if you've ever watched the breakdown of why each turtle is given their weapon, right? Like for Raphael, he's given the scythe. The scythe are technically they're completely defensive weapons. So they're not, even though in most cartoons they are portrayed as like three-pronged knives, they're actually not. So he had to figure out how to use them and harness his anger. And Donatello, being so smart and intellectual, was given just a simple stick. And Leonardo, though, right, Leo's given the most dangerous weapon because, as we talked about, he's given two deadly sharp swords. But he knew that he would never use them unless he was forced to in a true fight to the death battle. So I love the fact that Leonardo was always calm-headed. He was trying to be the leader, and he was trying to be exactly what Master Splinter wanted them all to be. But he was still his own personality and not maybe as robotic as he could have been.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yourself? Who's yours?
I am a Raph fan.
Oh,
I
okay.
have
I thought
always,
for sure you were going to say Michelangelo.
You would think that, but honestly, at my core, I think I just have always related with Raphael, being sort of the person who, though I enjoy being around people, I'm
Right.
very much like just kind of antisocial, kind of to myself, a bit of an introvert, and a lot of people don't know this.
Trust me, if you have been around this station, you would never guess because I did not know this answer was coming. Actually.
Yeah, I love being by myself, and it requires, some charge up time to, to integrate with the local folks and everything like that, and even within my own family, like I am around, but there's a little bit of distance, and I don't know what it is, but Raph has always spoken to me, and I think that also leads to like. Raph seems so defiant and rebellious in nature, a little bit more aggressive, and that kind of fits, my choices in music and movies and things like that as well.
Okay.
And even playing video games, like there's definitely better characters. There's also something just fun about being upfront and being the tank or whatever, just being upfront with those sides, and. I feel like I'm somewhere between a Raphael and Leonardo.
Fair enough.
As when I need to be, I am very much a Leonardo, but at my core, I'm a Raphael.
Okay, yeah, I definitely feel like I'm the cross between Michelangelo and Leonardo for sure.
I can see that for sure. Yeah. All right. Well, that was our review of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 1990, 35 years.
God, don't say it like that, man. It's terrifying.
A lot of time has come and gone. But that's it goes to show how good of a movie that film is. And like I said, I think it still holds up. I still think it's a fantastic film. And hopefully the turtles never die. There's always I hope that there's always going to be turtle power and the power of pizza.
That's right. And by the way, I will say, I don't know if you noticed this because you got there before I did.
Yeah.
But I did think it was cool, right? I got there when it was kind of dark before the movie started. But I thought it was pretty cool that when the movie was over and they rolled most of the credits and the house lights came on, it was really cool to see, obviously, how many people our age or looked about our age were there, but also there were a decent number of families with their kids, right?
Yeah.
So you had people our age who enjoyed it, and they were passing on that love to the next generation. So
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty cool that, as you said, there is still a living legacy of turtles, and again, as long as there are ninja-loving kids who enjoy pizza and doing fun stuff, the turtles will always be around.
Absolutely. There can never be too much. Like turtles.
That's right.
There's never too much pizza, too much turtles, and a little too Raph.
That's right.
So for Chris Pinson, I'm Tony Nguyen. This has been Reviews by The Slice, and we'll see you next week.